number 16. Hello, everyone.
Hi there, everybody. I wanted to come on and just share a few thoughts as we enter into another week of this nightmare. I just want to say, first of all, thank you so much for all of the prayers and the love that we have felt, my sister and brother and I, and that our mom has felt. Because we believe that somehow, some way, she is feeling these prayers and that God is lifting her even in this moment and in this darkest place. We believe our mom is still out there. We need your help. Law enforcement is working tirelessly around the clock trying to bring her home, trying to find her. She was taken and we don't know where. And we need your help. So I'm coming on just to ask you, not just for your prayers, but no matter where you are, even if you're far from Tucson, if you see anything, if you hear anything, if there's anything at all that seems strange to you, that you report to law enforcement. We are at an hour of desperation, and we need your help.
Okay, I am joined by my guest once again, Dr. Curry Myers. I told you guys that I would have him back over, I believe, when he was on Friday. I wanted to make sure that we brought him back to discuss this. Obviously, there's been lots more news that has broke since, and obviously, we're going to talk about the Super Bowl, Bad Bunny, TPUSA, all of that good stuff a little later on. But I wanted to cover this story with Dr. Curry Myers, and frankly, I wanted to have a little blunt talk with him or ask some questions because I mean he's a criminologist, he's a professor at Benedictine College, former Kansas City State Trooper, KBI special agent, has done crazy undercover work. Sheriff, former sheriff of I said he's currently a KBI special agent. That's crazy. Former KBI special agent, former sheriff of Johnson County, Kansas. He's worked high profile homicide cases, you name it. The guy knows what he's talking about. So, Doc, let me just do this because obviously there's still new leads that seem to be followed. There was a deadline, I believe, today or that was supposed to hit today. Um, I know some law enforcement went back to Nancy Guthrie's property, the mother of Savannah Guthrie, and they checked the septic tank. All of these new things that seem to be transpiring. But it's been over a week. It's been over a week, Doc. So I just want to pick your brain a little bit, and I feel so sorry for the Guthrie family. And I want to address those. I've seen a lot of people on X. All these people are getting special treatment because they're rich. I'm going to tell you why I don't care and why I think it's actually even important for poorer people and for Nancy Guthrie or to get this type of treatment. So I'll get into that momentarily. Maybe Doc will agree with me. Maybe he won't. I don't know. But Doc, let me be realistic. And I hate saying this because if it were my family member, it's not news that I would want to hear necessarily. I don't think she's alive, Doc.
Well, unfortunately, I don't disagree. I think it's very difficult. You can tell that the pressure on the family is growing immense. I can't imagine. Pressure on law enforcement is growing immense. There's a window of opportunity to not only be able to investigate these cases, but be able to act and save a person's life. That window is, in my opinion, has closed. It's not beyond completely closed, but the laws of probability. And unfortunately, I try to rely on those as much I can when I do my assessments. The laws on probability are that she is no longer with us, um, and there's some various reasons for that. I think the number one, we're not seeing as much chatter the like we were seeing before. There's less and less information come in. We still see there's still updates about the case, but I'm saying from people who may be representing themselves as someone who has her, we're not seeing it in that. As I said Friday, I'm still there's something not right with the ransom letter. Um, I'm not saying that it's faulty. I think it's certainly real, but wherever that has come from, I don't know if that's truly associated with the crime that's occurred. There's so many times that people will manipulate that and send things to people, especially when it went outside the normal order. And the normal order is usually between the family and law enforcement. When it gets to the media, when it gets sent out on social media, that's uncommon because the ability of someone to be able to make money, if that's your desire, is to make money. If you're a bad guy, gets less and less when there's that information. I also must say in my opinion, law enforcement works hard, but you have to be very careful, Carl, about releasing too much information.
Okay.
And when you release too much information, that can jeopardize the case. Uh, I have said this before. There's really only uh, two people that know what's going on at a crime scene, and that's the bad guy and God. And unfortunately, God can't whisper in our ear too much on those particular things. So we should keep those things close to the vest when it comes to material evidence
Let me
that
ask
we
this.
find. And I think we got into displaying a lot of material information that should not have been released.
Let me ask this based on the point that you
Yeah.
just made, Doc. Is that could that be like kind of an amateur move, or could it be that maybe they simply don't, the cops, even law enforcement, they don't have anything, so they're willing to put as much out there as possible. Is that a possibility?
Well, it's always a possibility. I can't. I'm not blaming them. I'm giving my opinion on it. Of
Sure.
course, they're. I mean, I haven't spoken with them. They may have their reasons for doing so. I don't. I think regardless of what they thought, the reasons at that early juncture in the case, I don't. I wouldn't support releasing that kind of important information and specific information. And I'm including the things that were put out almost immediately in the first briefing, which was the loss of power and when it came to the Nest video
Okay.
bell, and also the loss of power uh, to the heart. And so when you're dealing with those particular issues, those are things that you want to keep fairly close to the vest, that that's not out there for because those are things that you can solve and be able to get time hacks on what occurred. You could get potential photographs from the Nest. You could dive even deeper into it to be able to get at least information from that Nest. And then there was a blood spot on the outside. I wouldn't release that to the public because we don't know the genesis of that. It was hers that we did find out when the DNA came back, but we don't know when it was put there and what happened. So it's those little things are the things that I wouldn't release at that time. And I'm not blaming law enforcement. It's just my opinion. But of all things, the problem that I have in this case is there is something strange to me about this ransom letter. It just doesn't make sense, and it makes you wonder whether all along there was no ransom attempt. Maybe they tried to steal information from her, credit card information, bank information from her specifically, maybe be able to get Bitcoin transfers of her own cash, and that failed. And so, as a backup plan, they maybe tried to put together this ransom.
What's the likelihood, Doc, that perhaps this ransom is, I mean, if they can pull it off, they'd love to pull it off, but maybe it's a kind of a distraction. Let me get as far away from the crime scene as possible while you guys are focused on a ransom and believing, and God's honest truth, I hope she's alive. We only have a minute and we can come back here, Doc. But what's the likelihood that this is a distraction? Like, get everybody worried about a ransom, and that, you know, if you get it, you're happy to get it, but really you're just trying to buy time to get away from the cops. Is that a is that a plausible scenario, I should say?
it's very plausible, and one of the um, I mean, when we get back from the break, we'd be able to, you know, get into it in depth because I think you're onto something. And I just made a reference to it. Number one is that they may be trying to cover up the lack of criminal intent that they had at the beginning. Had nothing to do with the ransom; it had to do with the theft and stealing from her. Or number two, in the commission of this, she maybe died from natural causes because of her heart, and as a result of that, they didn't have anything, they had no hand to play because she died. She could
Mm,
have very well died at the scene or
right.
died taking her out when she fell. And so she's got to play this kind they got to play this kind of card to see if they can make something out of nothing.
Okay. More with Dr. Curry Myers when we get back. We're also going to be talking to him about the weaponization of migration. So you guys are going to want to stay tuned for that. But we're having some blunt talk about the Nancy Guthrie abduction. You guys stay tuned. Hey guys, I appreciate you tuning in to the Carl Jackson Show. Please, just a reminder to subscribe to our podcast wherever you go to get your podcast. Actually, like, share, and subscribe. That would help us out tremendously. We've been working our butts off on social media. So if you would, please follow us all things social media at Carl Jackson Show, at the Carl Jackson Show. We're on X, we're on Instagram, we're on Facebook, we're on Threads. I may come to a TikTok near you, but I'm just not certain on that yet because I think that Gabe sometimes is a Chinese spy. And since I work so closely with him, I always debate if he's going to give information out. I mean, I know he's Latino, but still, you never know with Gabe. All right, but anyway, but please follow us all things social media at Carl Jackson Show, at the Carl Jackson Show. And I'm sitting here looking for okay, at the Carl Jackson Show is where you can find me. Doc, tell the people while we're on break where they can find you real quick, and we'll be sure to mention it again when we're live or when we're back on.
Yeah, thanks, Carl. All my published works are on Substack at drcurrymyers.substack.com. Curry, Currie, and Myers is Myers. Everything that I put on there, research. I just did a big one today on social contagions as well, that I put out just a few days ago. The one we're going to talk about today is about this kind of linkage when it comes to migration issues and the politicalization of it. And I just want to make one correction. I just retired from Benedictine College. That
Oh,
at the end
really?
of at the end of the semester, that was my last semester. After 14 years there, prior to
Wow.
that, I was the dean of the School of Justice Studies at Rasmussen College. But I want to focus on doing this kind of work down the road. So yeah, I decided it's time to pull the trigger and kind of open up some new doors in my life. So thank you for
Man,
the
good for you.
opportunity to be
All
here.
right. All right. Good for you, Doc. All right. Without any further ado, Gabe, why don't we go back live? And again, I appreciate all the guys tuning in to the Carl Jackson Show. We're going to talk about Nancy Guthrie's um, abduction a little more. And basically, at this point, guys, I think everything is speculation. I just don't know what law enforcement has, and I'm just the odds of finding Nancy Guthrie alive at this point. I think we all have to come to the realization that that is a long shot, and I want it to be the case. But anyway, without any further ado, let's get back to the program. Okay, I'm ready. Okay, welcome back to the Carl Jackson Show. This is your daily dose of objective truth in a world of confusion and lies. I'm so glad that you've joined us this Monday evening. I want to get back to my guest, Dr. Curry Myers. We are talking about the abduction of Nancy Guthrie's, and obviously the news has slowed down a little bit with this particular case. It could be because of the Super Bowl and it's. I mean, this has been a long news cycle. I've even seen people on X, and I just want you to opine on this real quick, Doc. I've seen plenty of people on X that are just like, hey, because this, Savannah Guthrie is rich, she's getting treatment that poor people wouldn't get. You have people that are killed every day that come up missing, children that are trafficked, so on, etc. And I understand the frustration from people that are making that point. The reason why I think high profile cases like this are important, and you correct me if I'm wrong, because you have the opportunity perhaps to use different types of technologies, where you can learn to do things a little bit better, and perhaps even on the lower level type cases, which I disagree. I mean, I agree. I don't believe any one person is more important than the other. But when you have the opportunity to focus so much attention on one case, see what works, see what doesn't, perhaps you can use some of those same practices on lower level cases. Right or wrong, Doc?
Well, to some extent, I agree with you. I think from a law enforcement perspective, I mean, I worked homicides. I didn't care, Carl, what influence it was or whether or not it was a powerful person, a popular person. It was a death, and the death needs to be investigated to my fullest potential.
Right.
Now, I will tell you, sometimes you're under the gun, and when I say that, I mean it's a general term meaning there's a lot of pressure on you to solve a case because
Euphemism.
someone is
Right.
it's notoriety. You know what I mean? It's
Right.
somebody who it may be popular. There may be pressure on your bosses and bosses' bosses and whoever's leading the organization to try to close a case quicker because there's notoriety. Maybe they're getting some pressure. That does occur because that's human nature. I think the social media things is the typical social contagions that we see, that we live in a society of hot and now. If we don't get it hot and now, we get bored and we move over to something else.
Right.
Last week it's Minnesota and ice, and now it's this, and now we're on Bad Bunny, and now we're moving to something else, and we're just moving all over the place, and we're pathetic humans that can't stay focused on anything.
This is true.
And so but in many ways it's true, but it's only true because of influence
Okay.
that may occur. Now, I will say in this particular case, where not everybody that has been killed has been kidnapped for ransom. Now, that's what makes this case unusual, and that's because people say, well, a poor person, that's why they got notoriety, because she's rich. Well, it really got notoriety because of the method behind it, which is a kidnapping and a ransom. That brings the dial up considerably on interest with people, and as a result you're going to have more notoriety, and not everybody gets ransomed. If somebody
Yeah.
kidnapped me and ransomed my value is probably $1.50. So I mean, if you got to have money to have ransom,
Right.
and
Right.
that family has some money, and we don't know, I don't know what her they may have had money to begin with, at the beginning of the life. We don't know people's net worth, and so there may be money associated. Now, with all that being said, Carl, I think it is when we had just left, there are two real plausible issues that we need to consider here. And the first one is, it has nothing to do with the fact that she is the mother of this high
I
profile
am
person.
starting to believe that, Doc.
This
Honestly, I
has
think you've
something to do
convinced me of that.
this has something to do with someone who knew her, or someone that worked, more than likely potentially worked, or a friend of somebody who knew her at work, and gave information that they have wealth, potentially. I don't know what their wealth is, but gave information. Carl, there's been thousands of cases where people have said that person's wealthy, and they've been killed, they've been robbed, and they didn't have a dime, but the word got out that they had some money. So
Man.
that happens. So let's figure this one out first. The first plausible scenario is they went in because they knew that she had money, they knew that she was elderly, and they would be able to go in and manipulate her to give them cash, or go to the bank, or do, more than likely, be able to transfer money from her accounts online to money in other locations, probably more like through Bitcoin strategy, where you can transfer money back and forth, and you can transfer them all over the world. It doesn't have to be to a bank, it can be wherever. So let's look at those kinds of things, where she maybe was taken to be able, because they wanted to have a theft of her goods, of her property, of her money, of her values, and things like that. And as a result, maybe, just maybe, because she was older, because of the shock of that, she could have died in their custody. When I say custody, I don't mean they're law enforcement. I mean, but
Sure.
they were kidnapped.
Right.
They took custody of her. That's one of the main focuses on kidnapping, is whether or not you took them by force without their desire, which is in custody of somebody. And that kind of pressure could have made her, she already had a weak heart. She could have died. And then they have this person who is dead, and they got to cover it up, but they also, as a final recourse, want to make some money. And maybe
Sure.
that final recourse is to be able to do some sort of ransom or something like that. The other one is that she died when they first went in, and it shocked her, and she was overcome with that. Or as she's walking out, she tripped and fell when they're walking her out, and she fell, and they had to remove her from the scene, and they dumped the body somewhere. And that's probably the reason I noticed that they were looking into the septic tanks that was on the property. I believe it was septic tanks, not sewer, but I may be wrong.
Yeah, I
But
believe it was a septic tank.
they were
Yeah.
looking into the sub, because they couldn't, the sewer, it would draw attention because somebody would be clogged immediately, but septic tanks are different. And you know, being able to look at that property and all over to find out where things may be hidden is extremely important. So for me to think about, if you're a police officer, you should be thinking about the laws of probability first, and know that something really unusual still could happen, like a kidnapping and ransom attempt.
Right.
But you
That- I'm
do have to factor in laws of probability on other things that may be more likely to have occurred.
Okay, so the more I've been, I remember you saying this last week, making mention of this last week. And again, I'm speaking with my guest, Dr. Curry Myers. Get his Substack, drcurrymyers.substack.com. He spells Curry, Currie. So for those of you that are out there hungry and wanting curry chicken, that's not the way you spell it. All right. Now I just made myself hungry. But okay, but now, Doc, I'm honestly, when you said that last week, I wasn't sure. But I've thought about it some, and the more I think about it, and the longer this case goes on, and obviously you have the experience here, I don't, but I'm starting to wonder if it's just like you said, if this was a somebody that knew of her, knew that they had some money, they pulled off a crime, and they've been great, at least so far, it seems, with getting away with it. And I almost wonder if the Savannah Guthrie thing was like a secondary reaction, meaning, like, I'm not even sure if they knew that this woman was connected to Savannah Guthrie. Maybe they did. Maybe they figured she must have money because she's connected. I don't know. But I almost wonder if this ransom thing was, hey, let's just throw this out there. Maybe we can get some extra money, or more money, or money we didn't get in the first place, and we can skip town, or we can just throw them off. I guess it just circles back to where I was. I'm not even convinced that this ransom thing is real anymore. Obviously, law
Yeah.
enforcement has more information than you and I do at this point, and the Guthries, but I just don't know if they're being duped, and I I feel so bad for them, but I'm starting to think that we this is a recovery. I hope that's not the case, but that's the way I feel, Doc.
Well, I do too. I mean, there is a chance. There is a chance that she is alive somewhere and still, and can be
Man,
saved. But
stinks.
I think this is a run out. I think it was we're going. Look what happened to us. Okay, maybe we can make some money on it this way, but it's also a run out the clock opportunity.
Right.
So if I can do this and send this information to help run out the clock, then I can get away further from the crime that's occurred that I know is on our hands. And
Mhm.
so that, I think, is a much more plausible idea, because the further I can capture in distance and time, the better chances I have with getting away something with something. Because to get real evidence, you got to be able to capture it in a real time period in order to use it against somebody. If I'm stalling the
Right.
clock, I'm going to try to do that if I can in these cases.
I have to admit, even if these are amateurs, I've been impressed that they've been able to get away thus far. But I hope they are caught. I hope Nancy Guthrie is found. I just think it's unlikely. We'll be back with more on the other side. Oh man, I feel so bad for the Guthrie family.
Oh, it's horrible. I can't imagine. I cannot imagine.
Especially at that like at that age. It's like, okay, I mean, just let the woman die in peace, and then she goes out. Well, hopefully she hasn't gone out, but I just, oh man, the odds are just absolutely insane against her. I just feel so bad for these people. I really do. I hate for
Yeah,
anybody to go
I do
through that.
too.
All right, let's right in Georgia. Let's get back. Let's get back to it here, Gabe. Let me take a sip. Oh, could it be the sister and son-in-law? I know a lot of people are convinced it's the sister. I'm gonna have egg on my face. Um, I don't know.
Yeah.
Uh,
Is it possible? Yeah. Is it
likely.
probable? No.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I'm like,
Yeah.
I just, I don't know. I think that would have been in. Frankly, I think they would have been cuffed by now if it were the sister
Yeah.
and brother-in-law. I don't think they would have been able to pull it
Now,
off. That
might these people know that those people? Them? Yes, that's possible.
yeah. All right, Gabe. So you just found out that I'm just as brilliant as Dr. Curry Myers, at least on that point. So yeah, now we can. All right. All right. Let's get back to it.
Mhm.
All right. Welcome back. You wrote a Substack last week, and also there was a story that broke last week. I wanted to speak to you about it then. We didn't have enough time, but I want to cover both your Substack and this story in just one segment if we can. So we got to kind of be quick here. But
Mhm.
first off, there was a Chinese linked biolab that was discovered in Las Vegas, which is absolutely insane to me. And then you also spoke on or you wrote about the weaponization of migration. And obviously, yeah, Dr. Peter Schweitzer is out with a new book. And for, I forget the title of it, but basically it covers that topic and how I believe it's Mexico, China, and I forget the other nation. Perhaps you can remind me that he speaks of that have literally used migration as a weapon against us. I don't think you didn't go as far as him, I would say, in your Substack doc. But just give us your take on this Chinese biolab, and then let's talk about the weaponization of migration, because what Peter Schweitzer has written about is extremely plausible to me. I mean, the guy has been right on time when it came to Clinton Catch and some of these other books that he's written. Um, and it just seems plausible. We're bringing in these Chinese students. We have these Confucius schools. I mean, all this kind of stuff, which scares the bejeebers out of me. And I'm not somebody that's anti-Chinese or this and that, but let's face it, you have Chinese people that come into the United States, particularly students. You've got a communist party that runs a surveillance state as well in China, and that's really scary. And then you got this Chinese biolab ran by a guy who seemingly, I mean, he had a biolab in I believe it was California. I forget what part. I believe it was in L.A. Just in 2023, they arrested the guy, but he's still running another biolab in Las Vegas from jail. This is
Crazy.
insane.
Yeah. Yeah. Chemical and biological weapons are a real thing. Rudimentary chemical and biological weapons can be done. Uh, During my tenure, I was in charge of the clandestine laboratory response team, in which my team and I responded to uh, chemical drug labs, synthetic drug labs. Occasionally, you would respond to a biological lab, not very often, but occasionally. But in that during that time period, we went through a lot of training not only by the federal government, but OSHA, EPA, all those kinds of things to, make sure you're handling everything safe. It actually is not difficult to create chemical weapons with precursor agents and reagents that you can get sometimes over the counter, but especially you can get them from foreign adversaries that can send them to you in various ways. The same thing can occur with biologicals. It's not impossible thing to be able to do. It's harder to weaponize those. When aerosol weaponize means aerosolize them, basically. It's harder to do that, but it's not impossible if you have some of the technology and have some of the equipment to be able to do. It's been one of my driving concerns when I look at soft target capabilities. There was a time period right when I retired from law enforcement, I was a defense contractor for a agency, and one of my jobs was to research and look at the relationship between Middle Eastern terrorist organizations, or Meadows, and Mexican drug trafficking
Sheesh,
organizations.
Doc, you've done everything. You got to have Jamaican blood in you, like in Living Color from.
One job. So there was a time period I really enjoyed it. It was great work. It was a federal grant that I worked on for 2 years, and my job was to tabletop the potential soft targets that could come into this country. That was because of the partnership that was going on between Middle Eastern terrorist organizations and Mexican drug trafficking organizations, and the
Mm,
linkage there. I mean, I
wow.
researched and proved it and gave it to my cohorts in the government, and it's not anything private. It's well known now that there's that kind of linkage that's going on, especially when it came to cartel use. So the ability to use these for drugs, the manufacture of drugs in particular. So we know that this can occur, and it's so these labs are around. And you have to be careful, and law enforcement has to be careful, because you never know when you could stumble into one,
Wow.
and you never know if somebody calls and says, "I think we have, this lab here," and you're not fully informed about it. I think we need to go back to training law enforcement more on these kind of unexpected situations.
Especially
But
given
it's
the
not a,
open
it's not
borders.
a difficult thing to do if you have the precursor agents and the reagents to be able to make these kinds of chemical and biological components. And
Mm,
so those are the dangers. And don't forget, now we move into the section where I looked at Schweitzer's information, and I thought to myself, okay, I need to either, as a researcher, I need to either disprove or prove, or say there's not enough information to say that I agree with Schweitzer's written beliefs. And there is evidence there to prove that we definitely have a Chinese Communist Party influence campaign. We know that. Everybody knows that. They use covert and the overt influence activities in this country. They use diaspora linkages, which are communities that are really Chinese communities in other countries. It's not
kind of like
just Chinese.
Somalis in Minneapolis.
Exactly. So diaspora communities are happening all over the United States. It's happening with Middle Eastern terrorist organizations, countries that are propped up. Remember, we had at one height about 100,000 special interest aliens in this country that were unaccounted for. Special interest aliens, Carl, if you remember, are people who are associated with known terrorist countries. They're not necessarily known terrorists. They're associated with countries that are
Oh,
known
that make
terrorist
okay. I
countries.
get it.
So that's
Okay.
that's there's but there was 100,000, Carl, that
That
were
is
in this country
insane.
that the Biden administration had lost and nowhere to be found. So if you look at the 30,000 at one time, there were 30,000 lost Chinese immigrants into this country that were unaccounted for. And then we all know the amount from Latin America that has come into the country that was unaccounted for. Now, let's say conservatively, Carl, that just 5% are bad actors.
Yep.
Well, if the total number is 25 million into this country, that probably is a conservative estimate, then 5% of that is a large number that's embedded in the United States in these kind of diaspora communities that their whole purpose is to try to engage and be patient and look at the country as kind of a anticipating potential soft targets that can be manipulated, that can be blown up, that could be taken advantage of, whatever it may be, or look for political events that are occurring in this country in which they can infuse people into them to help prop it up with boots on the ground, and at the same time use people who get through social contagions, they get all up in arms about these things, the kind of derangement syndrome that's occurring where people go, oh, look what's happened. And then all of a sudden, this diaspora community comes in and is linked to it and says, yeah, we agree with you and we support you. And now we're going to send money to you. And now we're going to send signs to you. And now we're going to hire you to go protest. And at the same time, the actual governments are also doing cyber terrorism, cyber penetration. They're purchasing land in this country. They're really purchasing neighborhoods to actually turn into cities, which we know is occurring because there's been places that have done that in America. And that's the argument that I'm now trying to say, hey, we got a real problem, folks, because I was able to link them all together and say, you know, Schweitzer's onto something. And if Schweitzer's onto something, the government better take a bigger look at this to ensure that we're on top of it and paying attention to these details. And so the elements are all there for this to occur. And we're seeing this kind of behaviors going on in places like Minneapolis and others, where all of a sudden it just goes, boom. The same thing's not happening in other. They're happening only in left-centered population centers.
And they have discovered links, you know, so from the Chinese Communist Party bolstering some of these organizations that these people are associated with. It's a terrifying thought, Doc. I want to.
We have Chinese police. We have actual Chinese police facilities in the United States. Sorry,
I think we know. I think we did a podcast on this a couple years back, Doc, if I'm not mistaken.
I'm
right inside of New York City.
Getting tired of talking about it. Nobody's paying attention.
Tell you what, if you can you stay one more segment, Doc? I want to wrap this up. We got to be quick, but I need to get through all of this. You are listening to the Carl Jackson Show. Again, please subscribe, like, and share all things social media at Carl Jackson Show, at the Carl Jackson Show. Like, share, and subscribe. I'm sorry. YouTube, Rumble, Spotify, Salem Podcast Network, wherever you go to get your podcast, the Carl Jackson Show is where you can go to find me. We'll be back to wrap this up on the other side, at least this segment. Or this topic, I should have said. Guys, I appreciate you guys tuning in. I will get to the Bad Bunny thing. I was torn about the Bad Bunny thing. I'm like, at first I really cared, and then I didn't care at all. And then I started reading some things that kind of pricked some of my thinking here.
I goes with what I'm talking about.
I do too, honestly, and so that's actually the kind of the angle that I'll be taking. So you guys stay tuned. I feel like we're losing America, and we don't even realize that we're losing America. We focus simply on the politics, oftentimes not necessarily the culture and these influences, some from within, some from without. Are just they're playing at a whole nother level. So I do want to talk about that. I think Bad Bunny is just a useful idiot in it. I don't think he's necessarily nefarious. But anyway, we'll get into that. All right, let's get back to the program. Let me take a swig here. Are you serious? Oh, sorry, Gabe. Like I was saying, I love Puerto Ricans. I love Bad Bunny. All right. Okay. Okay, welcome back. Dr. Curry Myers has agreed to stay with me for one more segment. We're going to try to make this as quick as possible. But I do think this is a very important topic that we're simply not talking about enough. And Peter Schweitzer is out with a new book And as a researcher and as a former law enforcement official, criminologist today, Dr. Curry Myers has dug in to this theory, if you will. I mean, you look at we're looking at, I believe, the subversion or undermining of America as we know it by the CCP, by Islamic terrorists, even by the country of Mexico that we don't think about. But Doc, if we were touching on China some, we mentioned the police stations that they literally had inside of the United States, as well as farmland next to military bases, which is absolutely insane. And for some reason, I don't know why we're not talking about this in the news anymore. It's kind of become an afterthought, perhaps because maybe the deportations have taken so much. I don't know, but these are things that we need to be talking about. Obviously, Islamic terrorism. People are quick to go after Christians. They're quick to go after Jews. Many leftists, and sadly, some people that claim to be conservative. But I think the reason why is because they know Jews and Christians aren't going to strap a bomb to themselves and go, blow them up or decapitate them or do something crazy like that. And then you have Mexico. Doc, I can tell you, and I have a friend that I consider a brother of mine that happens to be Mexican. I grew up in Los Angeles, California, with tons of Mexicans, and I can tell you, back then when I was a kid, I used to hear all the time, "We're going to take over California. We're going to take over the United States. This is stolen land." Like, none of this stuff is new. But what concerns me is that it seemed like that was starting to die out. And now you've got a new generation of youngsters that are complete useful idiots for the left. And they're learning all this stuff and they don't know true history. I mean, they don't know that we fought a war. We don't know that there's a such thing as conquest. And even though we won these territories, we still paid Mexico. And many of the Mexicans decided to stay in the United States instead of go back to the territory of Mexico. But that's another history lesson for another day. But let's get into, if you want to close things out on China, let's do so. But real quickly, Doc, I want to hear your take on Mexico and their influence, as well as Islamic terrorists that are in this country.
Well, from the Mexican front, it's controlled by the cartels, 100% controlled by the cartels. So the Mexican government is an actor that does what the cartel's bidding wants.
So crazy.
And the evidence supports that in most research. Most of the politicians have been taken care of and been promised the kind of votes necessary. The ones that have fought against them have been killed. The true ones that did want to have freedom. And then there are cartels that war amongst each other. We know that occurs, but it goes back to the old general patent adage: "An enemy of my enemy is my friend."
Sure.
And so right now, all the cartels are in singular focus on the destruction of America. And why is that? Well, because they're losing revenue as a result of the sanctions that have been put on by the Trump administration. It's not really sanctions as much as just shutting down the border because of the amount of people that have come in, all that money and all that outflow that goes back to Mexico. There's an enormous amount of revenue that gets taken out of the United States and goes back to Mexico. That goes to the Mexican government and it goes to families in Mexico. It's a large amount of money that goes out, and then what comes into the country is drugs. Comes into the country is humans that come in. There's a need for those, and the need is from worldwide humans. It's not just someone from Mexico itself. They're coming
Sure.
from all over different countries, and it's also there to fuel and help where they make money on sex addiction, migrant workforce, which is forced labor. It's basically destitute, where you have to, if you go to work for somebody, you might get paid, but what you're getting paid is going to be subtracted from what you owe for living expenses and for rent, and you end up owing them more, and so you never get out of that, that kind of constant circle of owing money, and then you basically owe them for your life and have to continue to work. And the whole mindset is you wanted to come into work to bring your family over, but you're caught in this web of deceit because you owe the people who brought you into this country money because you can never get out of the work and the fact that they propped you up and put you up and gave you food and all that kind of stuff. So that's going on. It's the most unchristian thing that's ever occurred in the world, where you have these uh, persons. It's not the first time it happened in America. It happened in America, especially when we saw the building of the railroads, where Chinese migrant, Irish migrants came into this country and basically worked on the railroad, and many times they owed so much money to the people who sponsored them, companies who sponsored them, they never could leave because they owed him back money for rent and food and all the things that was used to taking care of them.
Man.
So this is kind of, occurring once again. So history can often repeat itself. And if you
And
go back in time, the history's there when it comes to the people who were exploited on the railroads in America in order to help build it. It was a labor force that was needed. But what the government wanted done and what people did was took advantage of the workforce that came in, and they basically were indentured servants as they came in. Very few of them were able to leave that time period. So that's the kind of stuff you have to go back and look at Mexico when it comes to their anti-Christian bias in many ways, because you can go back to the early 1920s where the Mexican government was involved in this with the Soviet Union, and the Soviet Union sent agents over to help prop up Mexico and provide a workforce because they wanted to have an easy route into the United States, and that's where we saw the
man,
Cristo Rey Wars. Have you ever heard about Cristeros and the Cristo Rey Wars, where it was
no, I've got to look that up, Doc. I was unaware,
where the
frankly, of that
Mexican
history.
government basically shut down the Catholic Church,
Oh
and they
my
weren't
goodness.
allowed to they killed people who went to mass and tried to do it because they wanted it was a Soviet backing to be able to do that. America was concerned about Mexico in World War II and whether or not it was going to be used by the Nazis even to be able to put manpower in there to build a force that would come up through Mexico into the United States because the Mexican government was so unstable. So if you go back in history, there's things that have occurred that kind of show this instability, and then you go over to the other side of the world, and then into the Middle East, where organizations like the Muslim Brotherhood and the Ottoman Empire. All you got to do is go back and look in history to see the history of raising armies to attack the West. And World War One it was the Germans and the Ottoman Empire, and the Ottoman Empire were Muslims that came up through the Middle East, and they were extremely successful in taking
Right.
over parts of Africa and even got into the southern part of Europe. They were on a warpath. You go back even further than that, that it, you know, it's history kind of keeps repeating itself, Carl, in many ways. So they don't go away. And after World War II, the Muslim Brotherhood began to rise and thought about the long game. And the long game was, hey, let's stop attacking people. Let's stop raising armies to attack people. Let's embed people into cultures and wait.
Uh, and 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 then you get useful idiots on the left, both in Europe and in the United States, that stop having babies while these people get their freak on like jackrabbits. I mean, it's absolutely insane. My big concern, and we're speaking to Dr. Curry Myers. Find him at drcurrymyers.substack.com. drcurrymyers.substack.com. You can check out his writings there. But my concern is, Doc, that this stuff is working. The weaponization of migration. I feel like when I look at a lot of these white leftists, particularly in places like Minneapolis, it's as if it's as if they're being brainwashed, not just by lefties on college campuses, but they're buying into anti-Semitic tropes. I mean, they're being funded obviously by the CCP. They talk about the evils of capitalism. Yet communism kills people. and has killed, hundreds of millions of people in the 20th century. It's just insane. You look at Mexico, like, again, run by cartels. You've got people that want to flee to the United States from parts of Latin America, and particularly Mexico, and yet they want to transform the nation, which is the craziest thing to me. But anyway, close us out. We only got 20 seconds, Doc, but it's yours.
Well, and I'm a man of faith, and I know you are too. And we can't forget the fact that Satan loves what's going on, and he's as patient as anyone to be able to play, these kinds of cards and make us divide against each other. So yeah, there's some big concerns here. Again, people can look at my Substack at drcurrymyers.substack.com. And I have a radio show that's in San Bernardino on KMET called America's Criminologist. It's every Tuesday. You can tune into that, and we're streamed everywhere.
Okay. All right, Dr. Curry Myers, once again, I appreciate you joining us to enlighten us. So God bless you, man. We'll check you out next time.
Appreciate it. Thanks.
All right, Doc, we're just going to make sure we have you up. And for all of you that are still out in the viewing audience, just stay tuned. I know this Bad Bunny thing seems trivial. And at first, trust me, I've gone back and forth with this. I've had debates with Gabe to sharpen my skills. I mean, I totally dominated the debates, if you guys want to know. But I've had debates with Gabe. I've gone back and forth on this thing. But I've come to a realization that I think Doc is right. This kind of takes us back in the territory of his Substack. So I'm going to be talking about that, and we're going to play some video for you, as well as voter ID, and as well as Hunter Hess. Hunter, I believe that's his name. I got to talk about this guy in the Olympics. Used to love the Olympics, and now it's morons like him that make me just keep turning the channel, and I hate it. So anyway, we'll get into that as well. So Dr. Curry Myers, thank you for joining us. I think we have you up. All right. We're good to go. All right. Thanks, Doc.
Thank you. Thanks, Gabe. Appreciate it.
Okay, Gabe, when we come back in, let's come back in with that last video that I sent you of Hunter Hess, the Olympic guy. I just want to respond to that really quick, and then we can yeah. Yes, and then I can start bashing. Your people. Okay, hold on just a sec. I think what cut will that be? That'll be cut number 17.1. Okay, let's do that. All right, let's come right in with it, and I'll just react to that, and then I'm just going to move on to Bad Bunny here.
It brings up mixed emotions to represent the U.S. right now, I think. It's a little hard. There's obviously a lot going on that I'm not the biggest fan of, and I think a lot of people aren't. If it aligns with my moral values, I feel like I'm representing it. Just because I'm wearing the flag doesn't mean I represent everything that's going on in the U.S. So yeah, I just kind of want to do it for my friends and my family and the people that support me getting here.
How does it feel to represent your country like this?
It feels amazing. I love representing the U.S. I freaking love living there. I love it, and I'm so happy I get to represent USA.
Obviously, that's going back to 2020, but this Hunter Hess, yeah, that was under Biden. That's true. But no, actually, I think that was still under Trump at the time. But anyway, but Hunter Hess is the latest Olympic athlete to come out and speak against the U.S. Guys, Hunter Hess is exactly why I've tuned out of the Olympics. I used to love the Olympics. I used to look forward to watching the Olympics with my dad, with the rest of my family. We absolutely loved them. And honestly, even the Michael Phelps era, I would tune into the Olympics religiously. But it's people like Hunter Hess that force me to tune out of the Olympics. And why? Because I don't care about your politics. I don't care what political party you represent. I don't care what skin color you are. I don't care what sex you are. All I care about is that you're an American, and I want to cheer for an American, and I want to see an American beat another country. That's all I want to see. I just want to be entertained. I want to watch for fun. I want to watch to root for you. I don't tune into the Olympics to be preached to. You've got low information voters like this guy Hunter Hess is, that thinks he's above it all, that can't keep his mouth shut, and all he's forcing people to do is tune out. And so now I'm not rooting for Hunter Hess. I'm rooting for Hunter Hess's competition. And I don't want to be that way, because I want to root for the American. Now, I won't even watch. I won't even watch. You've had stories like the downhill skiers, Lindsey Vonn, and forgive me, I forget the name of the woman that actually won gold, but I did tune into that late night after the Super Bowl, and I saw Lindsey Vonn crash. I know that happened earlier in the day, so that was taped. But she's just an American. It's a great American story. Sadly, she crashed. Sadly, she injured herself even further. But nonetheless, these people, because of what they do, you just want to root for them. You just want to see them succeed. They don't come out. They're not overly political. And you just want to root for their ability to go out there and crush it in the Olympics. And Hunter Hess has robbed us of that ability to be able to do that. So shame on him. He would do much better. All of these athletes would do much better if they would just shut their pie holes and compete, because honestly, they would have a more of an impact on the culture, a positive impact, and bring us together, because Democrats, Republicans, libertarians, even Democratic socialists, if you get them into watching sports, they're going to be cheering for the American. So Hunter Hess just screwed up his ministry. Okay, I want to move on to that, and obviously I want to get into Bad Bunny. Let's play a clip here. This was and I want to get into TPUSA, give you my take on that. Actually, let me just give you my take on this. All right. So we commented on Hunter Hess. Let me give you my take on, I didn't watch the Bad Bunny halftime show. I've seen some short clips of Bad Bunny's halftime show. I've heard praise, about it. Like the what did you say, Gabe? Like the theatrics, the production of it was absolutely amazing. I don't like that it was done predominantly in Spanish, and it's not because I don't love Spanish people. It's because I love America, and I know that Spanish people love America. And then we have a nation and cultures and traditions that we have to preserve, and people take this lightly. I've heard some people say, "Listen, this is no big deal," and honestly, I went from "this is a big deal" to "this is no big deal." So the more I thought about it, and I was like, "No, it's actually a really, really big deal." Because what we don't tend to think about is we're losing America as we know it. And it's not because this isn't about race. This isn't even about Latinos. It's about disparaging what America is and what we've been and the traditions that we've held, the things that we can as Americans, we look forward to the 4th of July. We look forward to Thanksgiving. We look forward to holidays and events that are uniquely ours, where we can sit together and gather together and just be American, be Americans, and be entertained. And again, not care about skin color, not care about race, not care so much about religion, even not care about sex. There's some institutions, and the Super Bowl was one of them, or I'd like to think still is partially one of them, where Americans just want to come together and watch and be Americans. I really believe that the NFL has done damage. I don't know what the ratings are with Bad Bunny. I suspect they're not horrible, because frankly, most people that are watching the Super Bowl don't turn the channel. So like Kendrick Lamar got all these great ratings, but his halftime show last year stunk. But it's just people when they watch the Super Bowl, they're getting up to get, chips and dip and barbecue and wings and everything else, or go take a bathroom break or talk to their friends. And some people aren't paying attention to the halftime show. A lot of people are paying attention to the halftime show and ads. But I've come to the realization that the left, the NFL, Roger Goodell, has done a lot of damage to the NFL. Have done a lot of damage to the NFL. And I think TPUSA, surprisingly, did more damage to the NFL halftime show than I ever imagined. And looking at the 135 million watched the halftime show, so those numbers may be even larger. than last year. I don't remember what Kendrick Lamar's were, but I feel like his were right under 130 million. And so the more people watch the Super Bowl, the more people are going to tune in. Okay, so that's the most viewed in the history of the Super Bowl. So I don't doubt that he put him over the top because you have people, Latino people from different countries trying to tune in, and I get what the NFL is trying to do. I think the NFL ultimately is trying to be the NFL is trying to be like football. They're trying to be a global sport, if you will. But let me tell you how I believe TPUSA has done a little damage to the NFL, even if their numbers aren't near here. From what I understand, they've got at least 5 million live streamers on YouTube, but across all of their platforms, from what I understand, I believe they had about 20 million people viewing their halftime show. And let me just be real about their halftime show. I wasn't impressed, but I wasn't unimpressed. And they only had a few months to plan it. I've heard Andrew Colvett say that if you give them a year, they can do something amazing. I would like to see them do that. I would like to see them mix it up, perhaps have it in a different venue, something that feels more Super Bowl-y. I know they can't be on a football field per se, but maybe something that's a little more open, a little more greenery, where you can see more people on the outside. Just celebrating the music. And I did think that it was good. It was actually better than I expected. I must admit that I loved all of the performers on there. I just wish there would have been more of a blend of talent on there. I loved Kid Rock's last song. Perhaps we'll play a bit of a cut of that. But let me tell you why I think the NFL has done damage to themselves. And I wasn't sure that it was possible with TPUSA. Here's what TPUSA has done. It's not just that TPUSA, and they said they're going to do it, can go and put on another halftime show next year, and they can get more talent or a variety of talent. They can have perhaps a bigger venue. They'll have more people watching. But what's to stop me now? If I'm a Kendrick Lamar, if I'm a Nicki Minaj, of saying, you know what, the NFL, Jay-Z, they didn't invite me to do the halftime show. What if I rent out a venue, and what if I do my own halftime show? I think TPUSA has just opened the door to destroy the halftime show of the NFL, because perhaps other people now will say different rock bands, people that like Metallica, Pearl Jam, some of these, you know what I mean? Now you've opened up a window where people didn't think about competing against the NFL halftime show might say, why don't I do that? And why don't I just pocket the revenue from all of the views that I get? And so based upon that, I think TPUSA has done more damage than I even expected, despite these very high ratings. No doubt, 135 million people watching, because Super Bowl Sunday has become somewhat of a quasi holiday inside of the United States. Football has become the national pastime. It is long past baseball, even though baseball is having its comeuppings once again, and I'm so glad it is, because you have frankly, more of a traditional and conservative bent inside of baseball. It's almost 50-50. I believe it's like 54-46. But just, you want that traditional Americana. And I believe what we're seeing is the subversion of traditional American values. And listen, Bad Bunny, I have no beef with Bad Bunny, but I do think when he says stuff like Ice Out and F Ice and all this kind of stuff, he doesn't realize how good he has it, frankly. And it's just annoying to me that he would say stuff like that and do stuff like that. Now, when we get back, I want to give my take a little bit on at least my feelings on his production on the halftime show. We'll be back. You are listening to the Carl Jackson Show, your daily dose of objective truth in a world of confusion and lies. Give me just a sec. I am trying to find a piece of research that I used to have. So what was I'm listening to Gabe in my earphones. What was your take on it, Gabe? Yeah. Right. But the production. Okay. But isn't okay, so here's all right, so that's where you and I will that's where you and I will yeah, because I believe it's got to be one or the other. I believe that when Puerto Ricans say we should be recognized as American state, okay, then wave the American flag. But that's based on their own decisions. Are you sure? Okay. Okay. Because the last yeah, I do no, I do remember that. Oh, yeah, that's right. That's right. Ah, that's right. That's right. And I think it was based on so much corruption that was there. They were like, I don't think it is. Okay. Okay. I mean, I see why you make the argument. All right, so here Gabe is calling me a racist in my ears. So all right. So we're gonna talk about it. I'll give you my take. With the Bad Bunny, I'm not gonna talk about the performance per se, but just in a macro scheme of things, what I think it means. And actually, there was a columnist at the where was she at? Brianna Lyman of the Federalist that I think basically said what I wanted to say. I'm going to touch on some of those points because I think it's very important. Gabe, why don't we come back in with cut number 5? Right, right. Okay. All right. Yeah, see that yeah, I agree. I don't know why they wouldn't do that, honestly. Okay. Let's yeah, I'm trying to find this is so annoying. I had some research and I'm just not going to be able to find it right now that I wanted to share. Okay. All right. I know people are watching. Forgive me, guys. I'm trying to make sure that I give as much information out instead of you guys watching ads like you would at Fox. I'm sitting here trying to do a little more research for you because I wanted to be able to combat, and I may have to come back on this on Thursday. And I just want to combat all this voter ID nonsense where you have Democrats that are willing to shut down the government again over voter not they don't want voter ID, and it's just driving me absolutely nuts. So I want to give me just a second. Let me see if I can find this because I researched on this years ago. um, I'm trying to look up Georgia's voting numbers after voter ID or voter reform laws were implemented. Let's see if I can find that. Perhaps I should have asked the AI machine. Oh, you know what? Is about. Maybe this is it. Maybe this is it. So 20 the lies about Georgia election law. Okay, maybe this is it. Only when several rights leaders. It has become clear that even well-intentioned critics. Okay, it is clear they have no idea. Okay. All right, I'll go through some of that. I found at least a column on it, so I will go through some of it. Hopefully, it has the information that I'm looking for. All right, Gabe, without any further ado, you can stop slacking. Yes, please. Number 5. Number 5.
I mean, like, who is this man? Golly. He can't sing. I mean, like, what is this? Golly. This is ridiculous. And got the American flag and all these other flags. And yeah, God bless you too. Get off the stage. Please get off the stage. Get off. Put the game back on. I can't stand this. Tell me that. I mean, what in the world is all this foolishness? Thank you. Get off the stage, please. Jesus.
Okay. And then you have this is cut number. Let's go to cut number 12. Let me opine on cut number 5. I feel like even though the ratings were huge, what you want to do with the NFL, what you want to do and what has traditionally been done is you bring people together. I feel like they didn't make an effort to do that at all. Last year with Kendrick Lamar, I feel like the same is true with Bad Bunny this year. It wasn't about American values. It was no longer about American game. I don't know if it's about a game that they want to take global or a game where they want to exclude traditional Americans. But the bottom line is the game of the NFL was created in the United States in the 1880s, and it is American through and through. And I don't say that because I don't want to disparage Bad Bunny or I want to disparage Latinos or I mean there are Latinos that are Americans and they're American citizens, and I feel like this is an American game, and that's the way that we should treat it. You don't divide people. I don't like the Black national anthem being played at the beginning of the Super Bowl. I think that's stupid. I think it only divides people. I think when you tune in to the Super Bowl, the most largely, well, besides soccer, after soccer, but at least for the United States, the most tuned into program ever. I mean, every year, ever, basically, and the numbers continue to grow. They slid a little bit, I believe, for a short period of time with all that BLM nonsense and controversy. They still do a lot of that, including with the Black National Anthem. I want the Black National Anthem excluded. I'm not saying this because it's Bad Bunny or because he's Spanish. It's because when I watch the NFL, when I watch the Super Bowl, I want it to do what should be done and what was done or what used to be done. And that's if I'm Black, if I'm Latino, if I'm white, if I'm Asian, but I happen to be an American citizen, I'm getting the same message that you are American, that this game is an American game. And here we are. We forget about our skin color. We forget about our sex. We forget about our nations of origin, if you will. And we focus on the game. We have fun with the people that are around us, regardless of what color they are. And we have we have the pleasure and the excitement and fun of knowing that this is an American game. It brings us together. And what is happening with the Super Bowl, why I think this is increasingly a big deal, is because I do believe it's a form of subversion. I do believe it's a way of undermining traditional American values. And I don't think Bad Bunny is intentionally trying to do that, but he did it. He did it. Gabe and I were talking about, he was repping the Puerto Rican flag, and then basically it's an independent territory of the United States of America. So I guess you can make the case for, okay, rep the American flag, rep the Puerto Rican flag. You couldn't just rep the Puerto Rican flag and the American flag. We got to look at all of these other foreign nations. I frankly don't even believe that the Puerto Rican flag should have been repped. I believe that the American flag should have been repped. Because in my mind, the Puerto Rican flag, you have a California flag, you have a Texas flag, you have a Florida flag, you have all these state flags. But what makes us one, what makes us e pluribus unum, is the American flag. That's the symbol. That's the symbol for unity. No other flag is a symbol for unity if you consider yourself an American. And so slowly, but it's okay. It's just entertainment. No, it's sending messages. It's sending messages. It's sending messages to younger generations. Oh, I'm different from this person. What's going to happen if there's an Islamic terrorist attack? If there's a communist that attacks the United States? This is why subversion is so crucial. This is why the weaponization of migration that I talked about earlier with Dr. Curry Myers is so crucial. It's so important because we have Americans that won't act like Americans, that won't necessarily side with Americans, that hate Americans. Going back to Hunter Hess again. Instead of just representing the United States of America, instead of just, man, I'm so grateful to be here. I'm so grateful to be competing and representing my country. Oh, it's my family. It's my friends. I'm not exactly happy what's happening in the United States. Tell me what athlete isn't. You can go back throughout history. Tell me what athlete isn't at some point in time. You've got a Democrat in the office, or you got a Republican in the office, and they have different political views, but they don't care. They're repping their country. I'm so tired of the virtue signaling, and it's destroying America. Guys, it always fascinates me that all of these people that just hate on America want to come to America. All these people that we watched in Bad Bunnies in that last scene while he was exiting the stage, all of these flags. Oh, we got pride in all these flags, except they want to come here to the United States of America. So what does that say about the flags that they're representing? They're hypocrites. They're hypocrites. They want the luxuries and they want the benefits and they want the opportunity that exists in the U.S. that doesn't exist in their country, but they yell, no, I want to represent my country. No, you don't. Because if you wanted to represent your country, you pack up and leave. The truth is, it's an indictment on them that they're hypocrites, that they're phonies, that they don't even have they don't even understand what they believe. And I'm just sick of it. I'm sick of it. You got Bad Bunny going to the Grammys. F Ice. Ice out, he says. Well, that's easy for Bad Bunny to say when you're a millionaire 10 times over and you don't have to compete as a poor person with illegal immigrants that are coming into the country. When it won't impact you, when you can sit on high and just spew nonsense so you can feel righteous and sound stupid. Ice out. Why don't Bad Bunny out? Poor Latinos that immigrated to the United States legally. Blacks, Asians, they all have to compete against the illegal immigrants that are taking their jobs, that are causing their insurance rates to go up, car accidents, hospitalizations, rents. 2/3 of the rental mortgage, 2/3 of the rental properties, basically in the United States, being rented by illegals. You don't think that causes the price of rentals to go up for American citizens, for lower class Americans? I shouldn't say lower class, forgive me. I hate that term. But for poor Americans, why should legal immigrants and poor Americans have to compete for jobs and housing with illegal immigrants? Because Bad Bunny thinks so? Honestly, the guy is a moron trying to act like an intellect. And I hate to say that. I don't think I shouldn't say that. He's a moron politically. The guy has found a way to become successful. Obviously, he's driven. From what I understand, his music is absolutely godless and disgusting, but I can't understand it. But an opportunity to bring people together. He only speaks Spanish. Some Spanish people might like that. I think it's disrespectful to the United States of America. I think this is an English-speaking country overwhelmingly. This is the United States of America. And I think it's a shame that the NFL, listen, if you're going to have Bad Bunny, if you're going to have Spanish music, I think it needs to be mixed with English music. It's no disrespect to the Latino country, but I don't want some African dude coming to the Super Bowl either and speaking in an African dialect that I don't understand. No, I want you to speak English because this is the United States of America. I mean, it's as simple as that. This isn't complicated. This isn't racist. It's actually the opposite. It's about unity. It is not about division. And the only way that America works as the United States of America is if we stick together despite our skin color, despite our sex, despite of where we came from. Because if we don't, the Islamists, the communists, and the cartels are going to tear us apart. And the leftists, the white liberals that you see in Minneapolis. And sadly, that's exactly what's happening. So I've got more on this. I'll close it out on the other side. This is the Carl Jackson Show. We'll be back in a few. It's okay. I knew you wouldn't. I knew you. It's okay, sure. Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. I'm actually still on Salem News, but they when do they bring us on the weekend, so you can catch these shows on the weekend on the Salem News channel. But I really appreciate that. That's why I've decided to go live at least a couple days a week and do an hour to 2 hours on Mondays and Thursdays. So that we can get out there in the ether a little more. But I so appreciate you saying that and tuning in. Okay. Hey, thank you. I appreciate it. I'm glad you found me. Really appreciate that. You know what? I was actually thinking that. I would love that's what I want to see. I love that point. I actually thought the exact same thing. I'm like, it would have been nice to, I wouldn't even mind a comedian for the halftime show for Super Bowl or TPUSA or some other comedian that decides, you know what, I'm going to do a comic skit. I really do think that the NFL has opened the doors for more professionals in entertainment to say, you know what, I'm going to take some time during the NFL show and just see how it works out. To take over and steal what they can't steal from their own country. Oh, you're talking about CCP, Mexican cartels, Islamic terrorists, I'd assume. I think you're right. If that's the case. I didn't have closed cap. Gabe said the same thing, and Gabe totally disagrees with me on this topic. But he said the same thing. They should have at least had closed captioning. And I agree. Like, it just, I mean, I guess you could put up closed captioning on your television as, you know, individual watchers. Yeah. Yeah, I watched the TPUSA event as well. Like I said, it was better than I thought it was going to be. I'll say that. I wasn't thoroughly impressed, but I also thought it was really good. I was better than I thought it would be. And they say they're going to do it again next year. I would expect that it would be even better. And I actually liked all of the talent. I didn't like the production as much. I wish it would have been in a different venue. I wish that the talent would have been a little more mixed up. Give me, you know, a couple of country singers. Give me some R&B. Give me a comedian. You know what I mean? I don't care. I loved. Man, I got to tell you, I did not know that Kid Rock sang that that song. Actually, why don't we come back in with that number 15 on? We can't play the whole thing, but that was amazing. I'm like, they probably should have started with that. That was so good. Number 15. Actually, we won't come right in with it. Let me finish up my points. Let me finish bashing Bad Bunny. Let me make Gabe a little more mad, and then we'll play Jesus at the end so he'll calm down. Oh, let me take a sip, Gabe. Okay. All right, welcome back to the program. Again, you are listening to the Carl Jackson Show. So I just wanted to make a couple more points. Actually, ICE ran an ad. Let's play that. Let's play cut number 6. I missed this, but apparently there was a pro ICE ad that was ran during the Super Bowl. I did not realize that, but let's roll that. Cut number 6, please, Gabe.
They're friends and neighbors, sons, fathers. They're little league coaches and veterans. They're people who love this country. These are Immigration and Customs Enforcement officers. They are removing violent criminals from our streets and neighborhoods. It's dangerous and difficult work. But ICE has one mission: to make America a safer place to live, and that's what they're doing. This is law enforcement. This is ICE.
It's so crazy because the majority of Custom and Border Patrol agents, and I believe ICE as well, are majority Latino. Especially the Customs and Border Patrol agents, for sure, are majority Latino, and people don't even know that. And you're talking about legal immigrants, some that immigrated to the United States, some plenty that were born in the United States that are like, hey, this is my country too. That's what I respect. This is my country too. I'm American. I'm going to stand up for the laws of this land. And so that's my frustration with the undermining and the subversion that I believe we're seeing with acts like Bad Bunny at the Super Bowl. And listen, people have a choice to watch it. Listen, if the NFL wants to hire Bad Bunny for the Super Bowl, they have the right to do that. It essentially is a private company, but I feel like, again, you have Thanksgiving, you have Independence Day, you had Christopher Columbus Day. The left is trying to totally destroy that, but there are some things that are just traditionally American, and that includes the Super Bowl. And I'd like them to stay traditionally American. Hey, call me selfish. I don't want the NFL to be a global game. I mean, the guys make tons of money as it is, and I'm not against people making more and more money. That doesn't bother me. But I am against a game that is traditionally American being ripped away from Americans. And when I say Americans, I'm actually including Puerto Ricans. But I'm talking about our values, traditional American values. They need to be lifted up on platforms like this. And I'm getting a little frustrated that they're not. I just feel like there's too much hate America, too much of the hate America crowd that is being spread all over the television networks. And I'm just growing sick and tired of it. So this is what Breonna Lyman of the Federalist wrote, and I think it was a good point. And Gabe, if you could get cut number 12 ready, I will call for it shortly. Whoopi Goldberg, I think she heaped some praise on Bad Bunny. So again, I mean, the guy obviously has some talent. Obviously, as Gabe said, the production was good. His lyrics are really, from what I understand, raunchy, but I don't know because I couldn't understand him. Even when I've looked at a couple of small clips, that's just crazy to me. I'm sorry, that's crazy to me that you would do that. I could even see doing English and Spanish. I could see that, but I don't think that you cut Americans out of any performance. You may cut Americans out on genre. I don't think you ever should do it with language, customs, traditions. I think that is just a bad play, but it got a lot of views. 135 million people watched it, and I would assume that's because everybody just had the TV turned on. But I would also assume that some people in Latin American countries are like, hey, I want to see this guy. A lot of curiosity, and I believe some of that was perhaps good marketing. But Breonna Lyman of the Federalist writes, Americans were forced to sit through one of their biggest cultural events of the year in a language that's not theirs, surrounded by symbols of other foreign places, quote unquote. There's traditions. Again, I mentioned them. There's Thanksgiving. I know that Christmas isn't necessarily just an American thing, but we celebrate Christmas here, even though the left has tried to destroy that. But these are events that bring us together: Christmas, Thanksgiving, Independence Day. These are moments that we can count on. The World Series, especially if it goes to Game 7. These are things that are traditionally American, and I don't want to see them undermined. And I believe that's what's going on. And I believe that it is intentional. I believe that's what Jay-Z was doing. I believe that's what Roger Goodell is doing. Jay-Z is no doubt straight up woke and believe some weird, crazy things. Yeah, some would say satanic things. And then you've got Roger Goodell, who's just straight up woke. And it's just amazing. So I want the things that give us a shared experience. So you had football again that was created in the 1880s by Walter Camp. It was created in America for Americans, and I want it to be American. And again, when I say American, I don't care if you're black, white, Latino. You're an American as long as you're an American citizen. And I think you should stop pretending otherwise. That's what makes this country great. That's what makes this country unique. It isn't diversity. When people say diversity is our strength, that's one of the dumbest things. This is what the left gets away with. They can just cite these cliches and they think that they work wonderfully. They think that they actually work, but they're stupid as all get out. Diversity is not our strength. What has made the United States of America strong is our ability to be able to unify around certain values, particularly Judeo-Christian values in the Constitution of the United States of America. And that's regardless, again, of your sex, your religion, your race. That is why people flee to the United States. That is why they risk their lives to come to the United States instead of staying in their home countries. So yes, I'm a little offended when I turn on a Super Bowl halftime show and I see a bunch of flags that are not American flags from people that don't want to live in their own countries. It just drives me insane. Diversity is not our strength. If diversity was our strength, there wouldn't be all this division. It's just it drives me nuts. Again, I think they're trying to make this a global sport. But this is one of the mass cultural institutions that I think they're damaging. So it was almost completely in Spanish. Bad Bunny's thing. I don't like that. His song celebrated Puerto Rico. I think that's fine. But I think you should celebrate the U.S. and what it stands for. As part of he what? Okay. So Lady Gaga sang her songs in English and salsa. She did salsa merengue. All right, so that's great. So it's still 90% of the show was what? It's sang in Spanish. 90% of the I just think that's wrong. Again, one American flag, several foreign flags. His football red. We are all America. I honestly I don't even know what that I guess he meant to say we are all American. I don't know, but we are all America. Are you talking to illegal immigrants? You're talking about illegal immigrants that you don't have to compete with when it comes to housing and rent. Or you're talking about the illegal immigrants, Bad Bunny, that you don't have to compete with when it comes to a job. We're not all Americans. There's people that are Asians. There's people that are Russian. There's people that are Ukrainian. No, we're not all American. Just because you wind up on American soil doesn't make you an American. And sadly, I believe that there's so many Americans that are Americans that are un-American-like. I mean, it's just insane where we've gone. So I believe the goal is you basically browbeat mainlanders. You basically browbeat conservatives and Republicans, or at least traditionalists, into thinking, hey, listen, if you don't agree with Bad Bunny, then you're the guilty party, then you're the racist, you're the bad guy. But frankly, I think it's Bad Bunny, a moron that would say, F ICE and ICE out, when we're talking about predominantly criminal illegal aliens that ICE agents have been removing from this country. And frankly, those criminal illegal aliens, you know who they tend to victimize? And this is true across any criminal stat and race element. They tend to victimize their own people the most. So if you've got criminal illegal aliens in the country, they're typically going to victimize the people that look like them. Not always, but typically. So it just frustrates me. So instead of sharing a national experience, Brianna Lyman wrote this: viewing the Super Bowl together, Americans basically watch the replacement of their own culture on stage. Then you had Bad Bunny said, you know what? Learn the Spanish language. You got 4 months to learn the Spanish language. I just think that's wrong. I just think that's so disrespectful. I really do. I have no problem with people speaking Spanish. I have no problem with people learning Spanish. But to have the audacity to tell over 300 something million people that don't speak Spanish, you got 4 months to learn Spanish. It's just a disrespect and an arrogance that I can't stand about them. So that is me on that particular issue. But again, I believe that TPUSA they did a better job than I thought. And it isn't about the concert in and of itself. We don't have time to play the clip. It isn't about the concert in and of itself. They've just opened up a new business style or venue where now other people can come in, comedians, all right, different singers, and say, you know what? I'm going to do my own halftime show. I think the NFL screwed up on this one. Kudos to TPUSA. I was going to do one on voter ID, but I want to go back and find, and I'm going to have to do it. I'm going to have to break it down on Thursday because I want to talk to you guys. I was going to do it tonight, but frankly, I just don't have the time, and I don't have the correct research in front of me. I've literally done research on this before, but everywhere where voter ID has been used, everywhere where voter ID has been implemented, voters, Black votes, Latino votes, minority votes have increased. And we all know that's the case. We're looking at possibly another partial shutdown, in my opinion, because Republicans don't have cojones. I don't know how they get trapped into this stuff. But anyway, we'll be talking about some of that on Thursday. So I hope you guys will tune in then. Until next time, you guys do not grow weary doing good. Again, I was going to go a little longer, but I really want to get this research. I've got plenty of clips for you. I'll have those for you on Thursday. And let's pray for Savannah Guthrie's mother, and frankly, anybody out there that has been abducted, kidnapped, trafficked. You have Tom Homan, thank God, ICE, and I believe Border Patrol have found, I think it was 145,000 last report a week or two ago of those children, 300 something thousand children that have come up missing. Let's pray that they find the rest of those children, because we know they're suffering in conditions that are just evil, So I understand people's frustration with Nancy Guthrie's mother. But I want evil to stop. Where I don't care how much money people have, rich or poor. We need to go after them, obviously, with Savannah Guthrie's influence. It's just the way the world works. All right, guys, until next time, do not grow weary doing good. God bless every single one of you. I appreciate you tuning in. Again, I'm sorry I didn't get to the voter ID issue, but I'm going to come with some research on Thursday. I don't feel comfortable just playing clips like a lot of conservatives do and opining on clips. I want to give you a little more meat than that, a little more research than that. So I will do that on Thursday. All right, guys, you take care. Have a good night.